Hello, everyone. I am so excited to talk today about how healing works and how to heal from anything. So we are just going to jump right in. And for those of you who don't know, my background is in functional nutrition, functional medicine, and basically alternative healthcare. And what I'm always so surprised about, and what I find myself talking about with other nutritionists and functional medicine doctors, is the fact that traditional and alternative medicine doctors are not talking about the fact that you are a spirit, you live in a body, and you have a soul. So what does that mean? It means that your body is just one part of you. And the reality is you are 99.9% energy. So why are we looking and treating your physical body with physical things like supplements and surgeries, whatever, when you're only 1% physical? Doesn't really make sense, right? So my biggest teaching point, honestly, from other people that come to me is, even if you're dealing with a physical issue, you can't ever just look at your physical body. You have to look at all three parts of you for one issue. All right, so this is how I see it goes down, okay? You go into the doctor with some physical symptoms you're having, and that could be an alternative doctor or a traditional doctor, because you're having some physical or mental symptoms. Then they usually run some kind of test on you, and then they give you a diagnosis based on your test, and then from your diagnosis, they try to give you a pill or supplement to treat it, right? Well, I just don't work like that, because if you really understand how healing works, that just doesn't necessarily work a lot of the time. Because what did cause that disease or imbalance, whatever you're struggling with right now, to happen? Here's the biggest thing I want you to know. It's not just one root cause. So the best example I can give is, you are like a bucket, and every day things from the spiritual world, the physical world, the mental world are putting drops in your bucket. Now, if those drops aren't being cleared, eventually your bucket's going to spill over, and it's going to spill over in the form of your health issue or your mental health issue. Now, one of those drops is going to make the bucket spill over, but it wasn't that one drop that caused your whole issue. And it wasn't that one drop that filled up the whole bucket. It was a combination of different things from the different parts of all three parts of you. So what that means is, it drives me a little bit crazy when people try to pin any disease or an imbalance, from anxiety to depression to autoimmune to hormonal imbalance, and they try to pin it on one thing. They're like, oh, this is because you have leaky gut, or this is because you're vitamin D deficient or magnesium deficient, or this is because trauma. It just doesn't work like that. It has to be a combination of things that eventually made your thing happen. So that is also why you can't give this same protocol to the same person, even if they're dealing with the exact same issue. Two people with an autoimmune disease, for example, they're going to have different reasons of why their autoimmune disease happened. So you can't treat them the same way. Does that make sense? So here's your bucket. I love this little bucket. So a drop in there could be leaky gut for sure. And it could be trauma. Trauma is usually a lot of drops. It could be generational sin. It could be environmental toxicity and heavy metals. It could be the fear, unforgiveness, and bitterness. All of that is building up. And that's actually what causes your problem to happen. Now, to figure this out, you have to figure out what was your combination that caused your problem to happen. And you have to look at each part of yourself for each issue. Even if it's a physical issue, you still have to look at your mind and your body and your spirit, okay? Now, I have the best example of this. My daughter, when she was 3 months old, started getting really bad eczema and really bad food allergies. And as a functional nutritionist and someone who's helped many kids, first of all, prevent and heal eczema, I could not understand how this would happen. And all of my colleagues that I also would take her to get help, they didn't understand either, because from a health and physical standpoint, she had none of the indicators that would have caused the food allergies and eczema. She was vaginally born, naturally breech, but naturally. She's never had any kind of medication, antibiotic, shot, anything in her entire life, and neither had I. I haven't had antibiotics in 15 years. I never had anything during my pregnancy. I had a super healthy, organic, gut-healthy diet. She has a super healthy, organic, gut-healthy diet. So she was breastfed for 2 years. So just all of these things that, from a physical standpoint, cause eczema, which would be gut issues and environmental toxicities, usually are the main causes. Well, she didn't really have that, and I did try a lot of different diets, a lot of different supplements, a lot of different physical things, and I wasn't seeing any results. So I was like, what's going on with that? Well, that's when I really understood, okay, most eczema symptoms do come from the physical part of our world, but what if hers aren't? And so that's when I started looking at a lot of generational stuff in the spiritual realm. Generational sin, generational trauma, generational fear, and clearing that and really diving into that. And also just a lot of the emotional aspects. And I did a lot of emotion code and clearing emotions from her body and paying attention to my own emotions around here, especially just anxiety and fear and how that impacts her skin. And it wasn't until I started addressing those areas that her eczema healed. Okay, so that's just opened my eyes of like, wow, like that makes sense. So if you're not, people come to me all the time saying I've been to this practitioner and this practitioner and this practitioner, and like I still don't feel better. They can't figure it out. They don't know what's wrong with me. Well, they're probably just looking at your physical body. So what if the root is not mostly from your physical body? If you just keep doing things to your physical body, you're not going to see much change. So that's why you have to look at all parts of yourself to see what combination yours may be. So two people could have the exact same diagnosis, like I said, let's say like eczema. One person's eczema could be 50% environmental, 40% mental and spiritual, and then 20% that, but it just can be any combination of this, or one person's could be like 70% mental and physical. And so you just have to find what's your combination, where it's mostly coming from. So how do you heal from anything then is you address the toxicities and deficiencies in your body, soul, and spirit. So that's actually what I love about functional medicine, is the whole premise and their whole standpoint is to address toxicities and deficiencies in your body for healing. I think that's fabulous. And you can't just do it in your body, because you're not just a body, right? So you have to also do it for your spirit and your soul. So you have to see what you need to add and remove from each of those areas. So I wanted to give a quick example of what are some toxicities and deficiencies in the physical and environmental world. Well, most of the toxicities are coming from environmental toxins like heavy metals, pesticides, GMOs, glyphosate, medications, antibiotics, toxic personal care products and cleaning products, processed food, all of that environmental mess. Now, some deficiencies from the physical realm could be your vitamins and minerals. It could be essential fatty acids. It could be amino acids. It could be electrons. So you're not actually getting enough time with your body on the earth, because that's critical for inflammation. It could be nature deficiency. It could be movement deficiency. It could be sleep deficiency. There's a lot of stuff you could be deficient on in the physical world that could be contributing to your problem. And so some toxicities and deficiencies in the mental emotional world. So toxicities I mean, hugely, obviously, is trauma. Any kind of trauma you went through that you know or do not know, generational trauma, abuse, and then just thinking, just toxic habitual thinking that you don't know is habitual anymore because you've wired your brain that way. Envy, technology is a huge one these days. And some deficiencies in the mental and emotional world would be community is huge. Lack of lack of technology and just deep thought, just silence. That's actually critical for your mental health. That constant checking is stressing out your nervous system, which is causing imbalances in all other parts of your body. And then joy and pleasure and like self-awareness, knowing how to process your emotions. Those are all deficiencies that we have to look at. Now, toxicities and deficiencies in your spirit. Toxicities could be, which this was huge on my daughter's path, was generational stuff. So generational sin, generational trauma, stuff does get passed down. Now that doesn't mean you have to be stuck with it, but you have to be aware of it to deal with it. So other toxicities would be unforgiveness, bitterness, fear, sin, just separation, just feeling that separation from God. And deficiencies, purpose is a huge one. Time in the Word, time in worship, and time with God is huge. Now, what we have to do, there's not a test necessarily that I can do that'll give you your combination of, oh, it's coming from the spiritual, like it's a time for you to do an inventory of your life in each part of you to see where you have these toxicities and deficiencies. So to heal from anything, what we need to do is do that complete evaluation. Yes, of your body. I can tell you the toxicities and deficiencies of your body, but we got to go and do it for your spirit and your soul too, to get lasting healing. And to be honest, this is the only way I've actually seen lasting healing, or even lasting change or instant change. So, the last thing I want to leave you with is whatever imbalance or disease or health issue, mental or physical health issue you may be struggling with, instead of looking at it as an annoyance or a hindrance or something you're scared about or something you have to fix, what can I do to fix it? I want you to look at it instead as an invitation. And it's an invitation to examine your thoughts and your beliefs and your family's thoughts and beliefs. And it's to see what you can do to remove and add, what you can remove and add to get to your next level. It's a chance to hear God more and what He's calling for you to do. And so I know this for me personally, and everyone that I've worked at, their health issue has actually been one of the most transformative things that have changed their life, and they've learned so much about themselves and what to do differently in their physical, mental, and spiritual world to live the life that they have the potential to live. So if you want more on this, I wrote a blog post about this that's connected to other blog posts, so just check that out in the place below. And I'm so glad you joined me for this, and I will talk to you soon.